Welcome to MINDHUB Stories, fam. Before we dive into this beautiful story, please kindly subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share your thoughts below. Janelle's rideshare pulled up to the familiar Brooklyn brownstone she'd called home for 3 years. After 72 hours of client meetings in Chicago, she was exhausted but excited to see her husband Marcus. The porch light was on, just like always. But something felt wrong the moment she stepped onto the sidewalk. Her designer luggage sat lined up like abandoned donations on the concrete. Her favorite navy suitcase, the one Marcus had bought her for their anniversary, held a white envelope that made her stomach drop. With trembling fingers, she opened it to find his neat handwriting, the same penmanship that had written, "I love you," on countless sticky notes. "You were never the woman I needed. Don't come back." No explanation. No warning. Just erasure. She tried her keys. The locks had been changed. Her name was gone from the call box. Neighbors peeked through curtains like she was some stranger causing a scene. She called his phone, hearing it ring inside the house she'd helped pay for, the home where she'd cooked dinner just 4 nights ago. Standing on that sidewalk with her entire life reduced to 3 suitcases, Janelle felt something crack inside her chest. But it wasn't her heart breaking. It was the cage she'd been living in finally splitting open. The Sunset Motel on Flatbush Avenue wasn't where successful marketing consultants usually spent their Tuesday nights. $40 bought Janelle a room that smelled like industrial cleaner and broken dreams. She sat on the scratchy comforter, still wearing her business suit, staring at the note that had destroyed her marriage in 11 words. Her phone buzzed with work emails. The Morrison account needed revisions by Thursday. The Peterson proposal was due Friday. Life moved forward even when your world stopped spinning. She opened her laptop on the wobbly desk and tried to focus, but the numbers blurred together. At 3 a.m., unable to sleep, she did something she'd never done in 3 years of marriage. She logged into their joint banking account and really looked at the numbers. Her salary deposits every 2 weeks, consistent and substantial. His freelance payments, sporadic and small. The mortgage payments, utility bills, grocery receipts, all automatically deducted from her account. She grabbed the motel notepad and started calculating. 87%. She'd been paying 87% of their life, while he convinced her she wasn't good enough. Janelle started laughing. Not the bitter laugh of betrayal, but the wild laugh of someone who just discovered they'd been playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. She'd been too busy being grateful for his love to notice she was funding his lifestyle. By Thursday morning, Janelle had turned her motel room into a war room. Bank statements covered the bed. Her laptop displayed 3 different spreadsheets tracking every financial detail of her marriage. The woman who'd been never good enough had been the sole reason their life looked successful from the outside. She called her boss, Sandra, from the parking lot. "I need to discuss something important about my career trajectory." "Janelle, you sound different. Everything okay?" "Everything's about to be perfect. Can we meet for coffee?" Sandra agreed, probably thinking this was about a raise. Instead, Janelle walked into the Midtown Starbucks with a proposition that would change both their lives. She'd been managing the Morrison account solo for months while Marcus played video games. She'd landed the Peterson deal with a strategy she developed during her lunch breaks. "I want to start my own consulting firm, and I want Morrison and Peterson as my first clients." Sandra nearly choked on her latte. "Janelle, that's business. You know what I'm worth. You know what I bring. Help me transition these accounts properly, and I'll throw consulting work back to the company when I'm overwhelmed." 3 hours later, She walked out with a transition plan and Sandra's business blessing. By Friday, she'd registered JM Strategic Consulting. By Sunday, she had a website and business cards. 6 weeks later, Janelle signed her third major client while sitting in the lobby of a Manhattan high-rise. The Sunset Motel days were behind her. She'd moved into a sleek studio apartment in Fort Greene with floor-to-ceiling windows and her own doorman. Her Instagram transformation posts had started going viral. Before and after photos of her life, married and diminished versus single and glowing. The comments poured in from women sharing their own stories of financial awakening. Media outlets picked up the story. From homeless to entrepreneur in 90 days became her unofficial tagline. Marcus had blocked her on everything, but mutual friends kept her updated. He had to move back with his mother. The freelance graphic design work that had seemed so artistic and free-spirited wasn't paying the bills without her steady income subsidizing his dreams. Meanwhile, Janelle was booking speaking engagements. The Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce wanted her story. A women's empowerment conference in Atlanta flew her in first class. She'd gone from begging to get into her own home to being flown around the country to share her expertise. The girl who was never the woman he needed was becoming the woman everyone wanted to hear from. And she was just getting started. 4 months after the note, Janelle stood in the bathroom of her new apartment getting ready for the biggest night of her professional life. Brooklyn Design Week had invited her to showcase her client work at their opening gala. Her consulting firm had pivoted to specialize in strategic rebranding, helping companies transform their image completely. The irony wasn't lost on her. She'd become an expert in transformation by living through the ultimate rebrand herself. Her dress was burgundy silk, something she'd bought with her first major client payment. Her hair was styled in a way Marcus had always said was too much. Her confidence radiated from every pore because it was built on something he'd never been able to give her, her own success. The gallery space buzzed with Brooklyn's creative elite. Business cards flowed like champagne. 3 potential clients approached her before she'd even found the bar. Her work was displayed on sleek white walls under professional lighting, and her story was featured in the event program. Janelle Morrison, founder of JM Strategic Consulting, transformed personal devastation into professional domination. She was networking with a journalist from Brooklyn Magazine when she felt eyes on her. Across the crowded gallery, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else, stood Marcus. Wrinkled khakis, outdated sneakers, the same defeated posture she'd seen the day he gave up on his last big client project. He'd come to watch her shine. Marcus approached slowly, like he was walking through quicksand. The gallery continued buzzing around them, but Janelle felt the energy shift. Conversations quieted. Phone cameras discreetly turned their direction. Brooklyn's creative community sensed drama brewing. Janelle. His voice was smaller than she remembered. You look different. I look successful, Marcus. There's a difference. He glanced around at her displayed work, the crowd treating her like royalty, the journalist who'd stepped aside but was clearly listening. I saw the articles, the interviews. This is all pretty impressive. This is all pretty honest, she corrected. I'm finally showing the world who I actually am instead of pretending to be who you needed me to be. His jaw tightened. The Marcus she remembered was surfacing. The one who couldn't handle her success even when he was benefiting from it. Look, I know things ended badly between us, but things didn't end badly, Marcus. You ended things cruelly. There's a difference there, too. The journalist stepped closer. Other conversations had completely stopped now. Janelle realized this moment was being recorded on multiple phones. Whatever happened next would probably end up on social media before the night was over. Marcus looked around nervously, finally understanding he was performing for an audience. Can we talk privately? Everything I do is public now. That's what happens when you throw someone's life onto the sidewalk. They learn to live in the light. I made a mistake, Marcus said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I was scared. Your success made me feel like I wasn't good enough, so I convinced myself you weren't good enough for me. The gallery had gone completely silent now. This wasn't just personal drama, this was a masterclass in emotional intelligence playing out in real time. Janelle stood perfectly still, letting his words hang in the air. You left me homeless because you felt inadequate? Her voice carried across the room without her raising it. You destroyed our marriage because my paycheck made you uncomfortable? It wasn't about money. It was entirely about money, Marcus. It was about power and control and your inability to handle being with a woman who didn't need you to survive. Someone in the crowd whispered, "Damn," loud enough for everyone to hear. The journalist was scribbling furiously. Janelle realized she was having the conversation she'd rehearsed in her head for months, but now it mattered less than she'd expected. I thought I came here to get you back, Marcus continued, his voice cracking. But seeing all this, I think I just wanted to understand what I lost. Janelle looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time since that night on the sidewalk. The man who'd convinced her she was never enough was standing in the middle of her success, finally understanding his own insufficiency. You didn't lose me, Marcus. You freed me. The gallery erupted in applause. Not polite networking applause, but the kind of clapping that happens when people witness something profound. Marcus stood frozen as Janelle turned away from him and back toward her future. Ladies and gentlemen, the event coordinator announced, sensing the moment, let's give another round of applause for Janelle Morrison, whose work speaks as powerfully as her story. 3 people handed Janelle business cards before Marcus had even left the building. The journalist asked for an exclusive interview. 2 women approached her with tears in their eyes, sharing their own stories of financial awakening in bad relationships. By midnight, videos of the confrontation had been posted across social media. Hashtag never enough to always enough started trending. Her consulting firm's website crashed from traffic. Her inbox filled with speaking requests and potential clients. The next morning, she woke up in her own apartment, in her own bed, to 17 interview requests and a phone call from a literary agent who wanted to discuss book deals. Marcus had given her that note 6 months ago thinking he was ending her story. Instead, he'd handed her the first page of a completely different book, one where she was the author, publisher, and main character. She'd never been the woman he needed. Thank God. She'd always been the woman she needed, and now the whole world could see it too. If this story moved you, hit that like button right now. Subscribe for more stories about people who turned their biggest betrayals into their greatest breakthroughs. Share this with someone who needs to remember their own power. And tell me in the comments, what's the best comeback you've ever witnessed? Your story might be featured in our next video.